Good afternoon. On this February 5th, I'm Yuna Naufal. You're watching the English News. A campaign to remove party banners and photos from Beirut and several cities was launched, the result of talks between Hezbollah and the Future movement. Jordan pledges to step up its role in the international coalition fighting the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant after the armed group killed a captured Jordanian pilot. And U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry arrives in Kiev, Ukraine, for talks focusing on the possibility of arming Ukrainian forces in their fight against Russian-backed separatist rebels. Jordan is pledging to step up its role in the international coalition fighting the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant after the armed group killed a captured Jordanian pilot. King Abdullah II vowed that his country will take more retaliatory action after hanging 2 convicted Iraqis on death row. Female would-be suicide bomber Sajida Adishawi and Al-Qaeda operative Ziad al-Karbuli. The execution by burning of airman Muaz al-Qasasbeh prompted international condemnation and widespread anger in Jordan. Abdullah cut short a visit to the U.S. and flew back to Amman, where he was greeted by large crowds at the airport before meeting with his security chiefs. A campaign to remove party banners and photos from Beirut and several cities was launched, the result of talks between Hezbollah and the Future movement. The governor of Beirut, Ziad Shabib, told reporters that 90% of political slogans and posters have already been removed. He said, quote, "We will work from now on to make Beirut appear civilized." And he quoted it about the campaign, which is carried out in cooperation with Beirut police and the capital's firefighting department. Governor of the North, Nuhra, also oversaw the implementation of the campaign in the northern city of Tripoli. Interior Minister Nuhad al-Mashnout met with governors on Monday to discuss the issue. They agreed to remove Hezbollah, Future and Amal movement banners and flags from the streets of Beirut and along the coastal highway from Tripoli to the southern city of Saida. Lebanon's Grand Mufti Sheikh Abdel Latif Daryan blasted jihadi militant groups which he said were carrying out crimes against humanity and are not related whatsoever to Islam, which he says is based on mercy and respect for human dignity. In comments he made to Lebanese expatriates in Egypt, Daryan said terrorism is infiltrating the world under the pretext of religion, while Islam is free of any criminal act against the human being. The actions carried out by militant, certain groups undermining human dignity, freedoms and rights are not related to Islam in any way, he reiterated. He says they are sheer terrorist and radical acts. He also stressed that the religion is one of mercy and tolerance. The cleric, of course, represents the highest religious Sunni authority in Lebanon, and he also emphasized that dialogue was the only suitable means for settling inter-Lebanese divisions. Prime Minister of Lebanon, Tamam Salam, left for Germany this morning to participate in the Munich Security Conference to be held on February 6th throughout the 8th. The conference will focus on the Syrian crisis that has so far killed more than 100,000 people and displaced millions since the war broke out in March of 2011. The 50th conference will also discuss the situation in Ukraine, which has witnessed a surge in violence that has seen hundreds of civilians killed in recent weeks as pro-Russian rebels push into government-held territory. 20 heads of state and government are expected, more than 50 foreign and defense ministers, representatives of business and scientific circles, as well as human rights organizations across the world. Syrian rebels fired dozens of mortar rounds at Damascus, killing at least 5, with government forces responding with airstrikes that killed 8. At least 63 mortar rounds hit multiple districts of the capital, prompting the closure of Damascus University, the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said. The Britain-based monitoring group said a policeman was among the 5 dead. The mortar fire left usually busy parts of the capital deserted. The middle-class district is home to several university buildings, as well as the headquarters of the state news agency Sana. In the city center, traffic was light and many people stayed home from work, fear of the mortar fire. This comes 2 days after the rebel group Jaish Army al-Islam vowed heavy mortar fire on the capital in response to deadly airstrikes on the besieged rebel-held town of Douma, east of the city. Coming up next, Peter Greste, the Al Jazeera journalist, freed after more than a year in an Egyptian prison. Stay more. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching the English News on Future Television. Iraqi Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi has ordered an end to the nightly curfew that has been in force in Baghdad for years, according to Brigadier General Saad Maan. Prime Minister ordered that the curfew in the city of Baghdad be completely lifted starting from this Saturday, according to Man, the spokesman for the Baghdad Operations Command. The move comes after Abadi visited the Operations Command on Wednesday and was briefed on the security situation and the status of operations. Lifting the curfew is a major change to a long-standing policy aimed at curbing violence in the capital by limiting movement at night. The hours it has been enforced have varied over the years, but it has most recently lasted from midnight to 5 a.m. The decision to lift the curfew comes as Iraqi forces battle to regain ground from the Islamic State group, which spearheaded an offensive that overran large areas north and west of Baghdad last June. U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry is in Kiev for talks focusing on the possibility of arming Ukrainian forces in their fight against Russian-backed separatist rebels. The visit comes a day after rocket salvos hit a previously safe section of Ukraine's rebel stronghold of Donetsk, killing at least 5 and damaging a hospital, schools, and kindergartens. Kerry is to try to explore ways to end the conflict that has claimed more than 5,000 lives in the past 9 months, as Washington mulls sending weapons to Kiev. On Wednesday, Ukraine President Petro Poroshenko said that he was confident that the U.S. would agree to give weapons to Ukraine's army for its fight against the rebels, which now has left more than 5,300 dead since April. The United States has said that the life of a Ukrainian Air Force officer and elected lawmaker hangs in the balance after more than 7 weeks of a hunger strike in a Russian prison. Al-Qaeda says that one of its top militants, Harith al-Nadhari, who threatened more attacks on France after the Charlie Hebdo killings, died in a U.S. drone strike in Yemen. Nadhari and 3 other militants were killed in January Crusader American drone strike against their car in the Sa'id area of Shabwa province in southern Yemen, Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula said on its Twitter. Nadhari had threatened France with further attacks like those in Paris on satirical magazine Charlie Hebdo and a Jewish supermarket that killed 17 people between January the 7th and the 9th. Peter Griste, the Al Jazeera journalist freed after more than a year in an Egyptian prison, has spoken about his experience behind bars. Arriving with his parents at a news conference in his home city of Brisbane, Australia, Griste smiled as he received a warm welcome from the Australian media.
I know from my readings, I know from my experience with other people, doing stories on other people who've been through some pretty difficult times, that to get through it you need to be fit. And that's not just physically fit, it means staying mentally fit, intellectually fit, and spiritually fit. And so I and my colleagues made a very deliberate effort at staying physically fit. We had some pretty limited space, but we made sure that we worked out, that we kept ourselves healthy. I also embarked on began a course in a master's degree in international relations. People will have their up days and their down days, and we were very careful at helping one another out, listening to one another, talking to one another, supporting one another, and at the same time giving space when we needed it. And so I think we've all grown very close as a result of this process, as a result of this experience. But that was also very, very important to surviving it. I don't quite know what's going to happen over the medium to longer term. I mean, I've only just walked out. There are so many things to think about, so many things to consider. You know, obviously there are some other projects that might emerge from this whole experience that I'd like to look at. But you know, right now there are far more doors that are opening up than I've really had a chance to look through. At the moment, my instinct. Do you mind closing your ears for a moment?
Oh dear, I know what's coming.
I don't want to give this up, my job up. I'm a correspondent, it's what I do. How I do it, whether I actually do go ahead with it, I don't know. That's the way I feel right now. You know, that's my honest answer, but that could easily change, and exactly how and where and under what circumstances, I don't know.
Two of my favorite show hosts, one a morning talk show host and the other one a night one. We're talking about Ellen and Jimmy Fallon. Here in this clip, Ellen explains to Jimmy how she set him up with a fake scare on her show in order to really get him when he least expected it.
I had the pleasure of being on your show last week.
You sure did.
And it was really fun. I love it. I love coming to your show. I love everyone that works here. They're very nice people. And you scared me.
Yep.
You scared me.
It was
you
so
were
good.
hiding in a bathroom.
Yes.
And somebody said, go in there. Ellen has a picture of you that you hung up in the bathroom. I go, oh, someone's going to scare me. And they go, no, we're not. And then you had the hidden cameras, and you were crouching like a little kid, hiding my thing. And I walked in, and you went,
Yeah. Well, you did it at the same time because you did suspect it. And now you gave away how we scare people. Now I have to have a different tactic to get people into the bathroom because that's how we
that's where all the hidden cameras are.
That's how we get them in. Taylor Swift, we got everybody
Yeah,
that way.
I'm a fan of the show. I knew you were going to scare me.
Yeah, so you jump out and you scare me. So then I knew, and that was a last minute thing because we were going to scare you during the show. And I thought, well, we got to throw him off. I got to scare him first before the show starts so it's out of the way. So that was just a fake out. That wasn't even to scare you. So I wasn't even.
So cruel. This is so, I don't like knowing all this.
If you're going to scare somebody and they're expecting it, which I suspected you would expect it, I had to get it out of the way. So here's what we did. During the commercial break, we told him we had to do NBC promos, and I knew you'd say yes because you're the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah, how would you know I would say yes to this thing? It was about recycling or something. And I go, sure, I'll do that.
Yeah, it was a good cause.
And I don't like to be scared. Do you know that? You don't know that about me, but
No,
I really don't like it. I don't like being scared.
Oh, that would have been so good.
I know, no.
But so no, it was, and so I thought. First of all, it doesn't matter if you like it or not. I like it. So.
I guess that's true.
Right. So anyway, so this is what we did, and I brought it just for you. I didn't show it on my show. I brought it to show how we got Jimmy.
Here we go. Watch that.
DeGeneres of the Ellen DeGeneres Show.
I'm Jimmy Fallon of the Fallon family.
And we're proud to be a part of the NBC family.
Yes, we are. For more than 80 years, the Peacock has been dedicated to making the world a better place. Next month, we're telling everyone that green is universal to help you remind to conserve resources and reuse. Back. I hate my life. I hate it. I hate it, everything. I hate everything.
Those ladies got that.
I had it playing. It was the funniest thing ever. Who was that guy? It's a guy with a beard and a giant peacock outfit.
It's Kevin. Well, he dresses like that every day. He just happened to scare you, but that's how he comes to work.
Yeah.
That is Kevin Lehman. He's a producer and a head writer. He's really funny.
You really got me
you.
good. You really got me good,
real
and you let me save it for our show, which I appreciate that.
No one's scaring us here at Future Television. On that note, I'm going to end today's bulletin with the headlines. A campaign to remove party banners and photos from Beirut and several cities was launched, the result of talks between Hezbollah and the Future Movement. Jordan pledges to step up its role in an international coalition fighting ISIS after the armed group killed a captured Jordanian pilot. And U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry arrives in Kiev for talks focusing on the possibility of arming Ukrainian forces in their fight against pro-Russian separatists. Those are your headlines live on Future Television for this Thursday. Join us again tomorrow for what's making headlines in Lebanon and around the world. Have a good one.